Welcome to Have More Sense Than Dollars, a financial management training for club managers and other 4 H adult leaders. This is part one of a three-part series. This part will focus on general information related to your club finances. Let's get started. In this training, we will cover general rules as they relate to your club funds, managing your account, using club funds to pay for things, and we'll then wrap up and prepare for part two. When it comes to general rules for your club funds, the biggest thing is just don't be shady. Club funds are there to help further the development of youth in your club. As a few quick reminders, all club accounts are held under Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension being the overarching entity for all 4-H accounts, clubs, and groups. Club accounts cannot be used for any political or legislative influence and should be handled in a way that fosters public trust. Club managers and those trusted with club funds should be currently enrolled and screened volunteers. No personal transactions can take place on these accounts. These accounts are not your personal accounts to do with what you want, but are here, again, to foster positive youth development in your club. Let's talk about managing your accounts. We're going to break this down into three parts. Part one, establishing your account. Part two, receiving funds. And three, requesting funds. So let's start with part one, establishing your accounts. When it comes to your 4 H club account, you should name your 4 H club at the bank using your club name or the club name fund. You should not name your account anything extension or Texas A&M AgriLife Extension or the name of your county related. This causes less confusion and will help keep your account straight at the bank. Each account, when you go to set up your bank account, you will need an EIN number. This is your employer identification number. To attain this, you'll have to follow the IRS steps on the irs.gov website to obtain that number. Don't use your social security number on your bank account. You will need to enter it to obtain your EIN for verification purposes. As you set up that bank account, you will want to make sure that you have two signatures on your account. Ideally, these two people are the club manager and the club treasurer and are not related to each other or live in the same household. You will want to make sure that those adult leaders who are signing on that account are screened volunteers. We do want to make sure that there will be two signatures on every check, so we need at least two signers on the account. We don't want to forget to notify both the bank and the county extension office of any changes to the signers on the account. As a note, remember, each club is only allowed one checking or savings account. You can have sub-accounts under these primary accounts as necessary. So part two, receiving the funds. What do we do with the money? How do we take it in? Well, we have 8 steps for you. 1. Record those cash receipts immediately. Don't let them just hang around. Record them immediately. Reconcile the checkbook monthly. If you have a cash box, the keys need to be with 1 to 2 people. No more, no less. The person who collects funds and the person who writes checks should not be the same person. We should have 2 different adult volunteers designated for this. We need to keep very detailed records of all transactions that happen. And we need to make sure that the person that is giving you the money gets a numbered receipt. We need to maintain copies of all those receipts. And the signer on the account should not be the reconciler. There should be a third party to reconcile the books once you take in all these funds to ensure that the funds match up with the receipts. Okay, so we've taken funds in. Now we need to spend our funds. So how do we spend them? Well, we should do that in the form of check requests and checks written for different transactions. So, as a reminder, there should be a check request for every check written. Checks should be written in numerical order. No checks should ever be made payable to cash. We shouldn't write checks to ourselves. So, if you are the signer on the account, do not write yourself a check. We need to go about that a different way. And we need to keep copies of all supporting documents and mark them with a date received to prevent reuse. Supporting documents could be things like cash register tapes, paid invoices that clearly state the purpose of purchase and from whom the purchase was made. If you need an example of a check request form, we have some on our District 8 4-H website. We would love for you to download and use. Using and receiving club funds. So, again, this is how we would use those funds and how we could take them in. A reminder, no checks can be made to cash. If you need cash from your account, you need to do it with a bank teller at the bank. Petty cash, if you have that, only one person should be responsible for the written log and it should be well maintained. Disbursement and records need to be kept. All of these transactions should only be done by the club manager or the club treasurer. Once we get the receipt for the petty cash, we should have the bank teller sign the receipt for documentation. Again, petty cash should only be used for short-term fundraisers and should not be kept long-term. If a theft occurs with this cash, it should be reported immediately, both to the authorities and to the county extension office. Online systems. If we choose to use an online system, we need to make sure that we only use one system and that this system is only used to make payments, or never to use to make payments, but only to receive payment for goods that were goods or services that were rendered. That system can be something like PayPal, Venmo, or Square. It must be tied to a club email account, not a personal email account. The check signers should be the only ones with access and must retain transaction records. As the signers change, passwords for these systems should also be changed. As a note, if you choose to use one of these online systems, there could be extra fees associated with these. You should be aware of who will pay those fees when the time comes. Let's move on to debit cards. It is recommended by Texas 4-H that a club not have a debit card. If you do choose to have one, you assume the risk and will need to follow the following guidelines. Only one card can be issued. It has to be in the club's name only. It must be used in credit card mode with no PIN numbers attached to it. It absolutely cannot be used at the ATM. And we must retain all transaction records so that there is a record of what went out and by whom. There should be a record of who has the credit card at all times, and this should be on file with the treasurer. Charges made should correspond with the log. Debit cards, again, have to be in the club's name, but may require there to be a person's name on it. This is okay, but it should not be the only name on the card. It should still have the club name on the card. And this wraps up part 1. When we move on to part 2, we will talk all things related to fundraising. Should you have any questions or run into anything questionable, please contact your county extension agent immediately. You can also find more information about the financial management guidelines on the Texas 4-H website or on the club manager page of the District 8 4-H website. Thank you. See you in part 2.